event. This panel is going to cover the future of scalability, and we have invited several people that are playing a role in it. So I'll start with Stas sitting right next to me, a founder of Pontem. He will tell us everything about it. These guys are connecting EVM to Move. Next to him, Vijay, Chief Growth of Eclipse, connecting Solana and EVM. And the last person, Ansgar, doesn't need an introduction. I think everyone knows him at this event, Ethereum Foundation. So, ready to kick? Let's do it. So let's assume that not everybody in the audience is familiar with what you guys are doing. I would like to ask you to give us a brief recap of what you're doing. So maybe you want to start, Stas, on Pontem.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Stas. I'm one of the co-founders of Pontem, and I'm one of the guys who is responsible for BizDev. Basically, I'm the one that tries to make sure you hear anything about us, in this very crowded world. So we are the big supporters and experts in Move. We've been working on the Move ecosystem before even Sui and Aptos, where the current champion started, since 2020. We've been one of the biggest app builders on top of Aptos. We have the biggest DEX, Liquid Swap, the biggest wallet, Pontem, and one of the biggest meme coins, if not the biggest, Dodo, which you guys might have heard about. So we touch this as well. And we recently launched a new product called Lumio. Basically, Lumio is AltVM. It's the idea that we want to see Move featured on other ecosystems, like Ethereum, perhaps others in the future. We became part of Optimism Superchain network, and we basically have this something we call hybrid VM thing, which allows mixing different languages on a single platform.
Hi guys, Vijay here. So I'm the Chief Growth Officer at Eclipse Labs, which is the team building Eclipse. And Eclipse is a modular layer 2 built on top of Ethereum that uses the Solana VM for execution. So it's a very purpose-built, general purpose L2 designed for high-performance use cases. And specifically, our vision is high performance with the hard constraint of verifiability. And in terms of use cases that we're seeking to support and help scale, it's high-throughput DeFi use cases like on-chain central limit order books, games that are posting a lot of metadata on-chain, and high-throughput consumer applications as well, just to name a few.
Yeah, and hi, I'm Ansgar. I'm a researcher at the Ethereum Foundation. I've been working on several different things in the past. The things that are maybe most relevant for this topic is that, I mean, for one, I've been involved with kind of our effort of scaling data availability, which of course is a necessary ingredient for rollups on top of Ethereum, so ERP 4844 and kind of the steps beyond that. And then also more recently, because we've been looking a little bit at like the ecosystem of EVM-based rollups, and of course these are examples for alternative approaches, which I'm personally also really excited about, but we were looking specifically at the EVM-based ones, and noticed that because of the EVM equivalence that all the layer 2s, or most of the EVM-based layer 2s are shooting for, they're all a little bit constrained in to what extent they can innovate on the virtual machine side. And so we've also been recently basically co-initiating an effort called the roll-up call, which basically is trying to have an IP, like roll-up improvement standard, for basically having roll-ups in a shared way move beyond the constraints of layer 1 EVM.
Thanks, Ansgar. Thanks for joining. Let's kick it off. So many people are wondering, Stas, why Move? I mean, I want to give a little primer here. Stas and I know each other for a long time, and his team has been working on Move for like more than 3 years, I assume. 4 years, I was close. As some of you might recall, Move was the original language developed by Facebook team when they had their plans to do Libra and Calibra, and then Diem, and I forgot the second one, right? So give us a little bit of insight here.
Yeah, so in our opinion, Move brings some, like the best example of how when we compare it to Solidity, it's kind of like a difference, I would say, between Java and JavaScript, I would say. This is how we explain it to people, that while we can do stuff on Solidity, and basically you should do stuff on Solidity, it might be a better idea to do some of the mission critical stuff on Move, because Move inherently creates a more secure environment, which basically kind of prevents you from shooting yourself in the leg, which we see a lot of time happening on Solidity, especially with unexperienced developers. or if you know, if you're like in the middle of a bull run and everybody just rushing to do stuff without actually having enough time to check it, so everybody running time to market. So because Move was actually designed by people, I mean, maybe not many know, but Meta, Facebook back then, when they started working on Move, on Libra, they kind of poached, hired some people at Ethereum Foundation. They kind of told them, okay, if you would like to see, if you will have to build the EVM today, Ethereum EVM today, what you will do better in this time? And in our opinion, it's, I mean, when they did this, they kind of tackled some of the inherent issues that Ethereum VM has, and probably will have for a while because changing them will break out some backwards support. And basically, in our belief, it's despite it having a higher entrance level than just a Solidity person, which basically if you learn JavaScript, you can start working in Solidity. For Move, you need to know Rust, for example, to be able to do whatever. But once you do, we believe it kind of helps you to write a more secure code, reduce your dependency on auditors, and obviously reduce your auditing costs. And another nice bit, you also get a very, very high performance. I mean, for example, there have been tests which have been able to run on Move like on over 150,000 transactions on the machine itself. So which, I mean, I'm not sure what's like the maximum level of EVM, but it's definitely one of the fastest machine there. Obviously, maybe not as fast as Solana. Solana is also a very fast machine, but yeah. So our belief is that it's like, it's just like on a toolkit. I mean, the same like as a developer, you will not limit yourself to, to C++ or JavaScript or Python, and you probably need to use the right tool for the job. We believe that you also should have at least some knowledge, understanding on Move, because the dApps, the applications becoming more complex, more, larger, require more moving parts. And the way you go up, the more you need to be able to use, to ensure things work as they're supposed to. And we believe that Move kind of more suitable for the job, at least for the mission critical parts. So we kind of see it being supplementing, and that's actually what we do with Lumio, supplementing part of EVM, not necessarily replacing it, but supplementing, giving you a way to rewrite or write bits of code which you would like more secure or faster to be done Move rather in Solidity.
Thank you. Ansgar, how do you see, what is your standpoint on Stas's comments on Solidity from experience?
Right. I mean, I think basically it's an open question. Like, oftentimes with kind of these new systems emerging, right? Blockchains being one example. There's always the question: the current version, the current kind of tech stack, is that good enough? Will that evolve? Oftentimes there's quite a bit of friction for people to say, okay, hey, we've been used to the EVM for a long time now, we're moving over to the Move VM or something. So the question is always, is basically the difference, the benefits on the other side big enough to justify people basically going through the friction of making the jump? And I think to me that's basically an open question. Like I think when we kind of decided on the Ethereum, on the base layer side, that we were kind of going into this roll-up-centric roadmap, we were specifically kind of, the idea was that we were like, hey, we don't want to have an opinion on this. We don't have to want to have to predict the future. So we're just basically going to open it up, and we're basically going to see. Like I definitely think that like approaches like the Move VM, like of course also the SVM, that's super interesting, right? I personally, I have a hard time predicting, right? Like, are these advantages, are they enough to make people kind of excited about moving over to new tech stack that they're not familiar with? Of course, yeah, Solidity kind of has its drawback. Also, Solidity, of course, on the other hand, is very battle tested, right? So there's like a lot of tooling around it. There's a lot of just knowledge, a lot of kind of experience people have with that. You could also build other programming languages, and people have been doing this. For example, shout out to the Phi team, which is a relatively unknown but language that's being developed for Ethereum that's more Rust-ish like. But of course, you run into like some things are like predetermined by the VM you use, right? So like you still will end up with a different experience, developer experience. So yeah, like I'm personally, I'm really excited. I can't wait to fast forward 3 to 5 years and find out how this all turned out.
Thank you. Kudos to Ethereum Foundation for inclusiveness. Could you pass your mic to, so Vijay, for you, I'm not going to ask you about Rust, because our assumption Rust and Move are kind of family. I have something better for you. So we have a small Ethereum community in Asia, which was initiated in Hong Kong, and Vitalik asked us to manage it for him. And I told the guys that we're going to have this panel, and they had some questions. So as it's a community for community event, I will use these questions, if you allow me. So basically, the developers asked me to check with you what's the latest on proof of history and the overall consensus of Solana, how it's contributing to what you guys are trying to do.
Yeah, so I think zooming out a bit, the approach that Eclipse is taking is sort of orthogonal to, say, a fully decentralized end-to-end approach in a lot of ways, right? And that's something that we think is unique about what we're doing and is sort of a necessary part of the broader landscape in order to enable these high-throughput use cases. So an example of this in our approach is that due to the benefits of the SVM, you can afford to have a smaller set of nodes that are basically beefier nodes, and it's a relatively more concentrated sequencer set. Now, that might be anathema in sort of certain circles, but that's something that we think is uniquely helps to enable a long-term resilient layer 2 for Ethereum that's highly designed for, as I was saying earlier, high performance with the hard constraint to verifiability. And so long-term, the vision for Eclipse is really where we can continuously be upgraded and inherit the hardware level improvements that are coming at the node level. And we can do that if we have a smaller, more concentrated node set. So that's something that we're deliberately leaning into and we think is unique and helps to enable the use cases that we're going after. But for, say, decentralization maximalists or people looking for ultimate kind of priority of censorship resistance above everything else, there might be some trade-offs there. And so that's a design space that we're spending a lot of time thinking about and seeing what we can do from sort of a fully decentralized governance perspective, maybe in accordance and in alliance with players like the Ethereum Foundation to help kind of provide the transparency, even if you do have a more concentrated sequencer set.
Got it. You're kind of leading me to my next question, because we've been looking at the blockchain trilemma. It's about safety, decentralization, right, and security. So it's a perceived, there's an opinion that you always have to sacrifice something to achieve something else. So you have this less decentralized sequencer right now that you're introducing, right? This is to favor scalability, but you are going to compromise to a certain extent on decentralization and maybe on security?
So on decentralization a bit, yes, but we do inherit the security of Ethereum because we're still settling to Ethereum and using ETH the asset. So in that sense, I think, and from a safety perspective, that's not really something that we as an L2 optimize for ourselves in terms of our tech build, right? So that's because we're posting ZK fraud proofs to Celestia, which is the DA solution that we're using. And DA, because it's highly modular, is something that you can plug and play, right? But we're starting with Celestia. And so safety is not something that we are setting out to solve ourselves, right? Whereas, say, in comparison to a L1 like Monad, they need to solve for both safety and liveness. That's something where, because we're hosting the ZK fraud proofs, we don't have to worry as much about the safety piece, and we can focus purely on the liveness piece. So in essence, we're leaning into what makes us unique and going all the way with that, which is something that we can afford to do because the design space and problem space that we're going after is different for us as an L2 compared to, say, an L1 that has to consider the totality of that trilemma.
Understood. Stas, same question for you. What do you guys compromise on in favor of what?
So, look, everybody knows the state of layer 2s at the moment, that there are not much yet decentralization there on the sequencer side. Everybody working on the decentralized sequencer design. I haven't seen much stuff being running out. Optimism, I think, launched one, correct me if I'm wrong. But still the majority of layer 2s are kind of using, the team-controlled, let's say, sequencer sorts. We kind of try to solve it thanks to our partnership with Aptos. So we have something we call sub-second finality. Means that we can put I mean, obviously Aptos is also not as decentralized as Ethereum, like they have like about, 110, 150 nodes. But we can do like a sub-second finality on them, and then we can do a full finality, as we call it, on Ethereum. The idea is to eventually decentralize, the sequences as, once it becomes a standard with optimism, like once we have enough node runnings. And, it's kind of like, I guess, kind of like Ethereum went as well. Ethereum went from what? From like a dozen of pools, like mining pools, which been like controlling the most of it, like what we've seen happening in Bitcoin, into like which is much more decentralized design we have now, which indeed very impressive. I mean, a lot of people didn't think that, Ethereum can actually pull it off. So amazing job, guys. Like this, how many nodes there? Like 500,000? I mean, how many nodes there are on Ethereum now? Like 500,000, something like this, last I seen? For nodes on the chain.
Sounds about right. I don't
Yeah, a lot, yeah. So we do see that eventually, like those networks that will survive will go the same way. We do see like it will happen. But yeah, definitely right now, most of the focus of everybody is the performance and finality and the security, which is the centralization kind of less on the, less on the roadmap, I would say. But it's the all the same. It's not decentralized enough debate, like which everybody talking about, and everybody said it will be like a big issue, and basically that Keystone project is not decentralized. But we've seen that a lot of designs start like this, and eventually they evolve in something decentralized. So I don't see it's much of a big compromise, because we have here other things like game theory, like community pressure, like VC pressure, of course, that, that the team will not scam, will not rug, will not run away. And this kind of serves as, I guess, as a good enough measures until the fully decentralized design goes live. So, I mean, nobody sees optimism or Arbitrum or, Base or whoever, rugging, like just because of all the reputation hit and everything will happen. So, even that they are not fully decentralized due to their sequencer design. So, it's something that which we all have to do for now, and eventually technology will catch up and allow a fully decentralized design, which we all will adopt.
Thank you. Yeah, I think all of us would agree that decentralization is a common goal for all of us. This is where we want to get, and it's work in progress. Now, I need a Maxi opinion from you, Ansgar, now. Maxi Ethereum Foundation opinion on the subject of trilemma.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I have my own personal thoughts on that, of course. I mean, yeah, I think with these trilemmas, it's also, of course, important to not overstretch that. But it's always kind of, there's always things to improve on, but like, of course, they're usually trade-offs, right? And I do think we're basically, maybe on a more general level, on the layer 2 side, we're seeing, I think now, more of a differentiation where initially a lot of the layer 2s just started out by just copying the EVM, the base layer, the L1 chain, and also copying all the trade-offs that the base layer chain made, right? Like same levels of throughput, same level, same general architectures, all these kind of things. And but of course, if you actually think about it, like the reason Ethereum, like the L1 makes the trade-offs it makes is specifically because it's a layer 1, right? And in the layer 2 world, you do have a different situation. And so I think we're now seeing more and more layer 2s actually like really deeply thinking about, hey, for the layer 2 use case specifically, what are the trade-offs that make most sense for our side of the things, right? So for example, in terms of like how heavy can a full node be, right? Like very simple example, but like on the layer 1, I think over time we have to actually get that down, right? Like in the 10 years from now, 15 years from now, I hope that like my smartwatch can just run an Ethereum full node, or at least something close to it, right? It does not have to run in a layer 2 full node. That would be ridiculous. Quite the opposite. I think actually layer 2 full nodes basically having to run, like in a data center. I think that's actually a fine point in the trade-off space. Do I expect all layer 2s to do this? No, of course. Like there's different types of systems you can design, but at least it's a very valid point of the trade-off space. And so kind of leaning into that, and then really from first principles thinking about, hey, if we are willing to make that trade-off, so basically if you want to run a full node, you have to basically have a really beefy machine. Now on the plus side, I can leverage that and can really build my system to take maximal advantage of that, right? So high parallelization, super high throughput, all these kind of things that you just cannot do on more constrained chains, right? And so in a way, I think people oftentimes, when they compare different ecosystems and chains, they focus too much on the tech stack itself. Like the reason why there's different throughput on Ethereum layer 1 versus Solana versus maybe also like these upcoming kind of more old VMs, like higher throughput chains, that's not because of the architecture itself. It's really because of the different trade-offs these systems can make because of the architecture, right? And so in that sense, I'm super excited to basically start to see layer 2s that are really very intentional about the trade-offs they want to make different from layer 1.
Thank you. Community question. I'll start with you, Vijay, if you could share that mic maybe. So community would like to know where do you guys stand on meme coins trading and whether you are going to enable it and at what scale?
Yeah, on meme coins?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Very important subject, you know.
definitely, it's community driven. Yeah, so I think it's been fascinating to see the last few months and just everything that's been going on. You know, Solana has been very much the tip of the spear on that, but we've also seen other L2s like Base and others see a lot of activity around that. And I think on one hand, I think it's like this really kind of fascinating, beautiful, community-driven approach where genuinely like these meme coins end up seeing a lot of retail interest and due to the, you know, the massive volume of trading and in many cases sort of the knock-on kind of effects on community building itself, you've seen these like vibrant ecosystems develop around them. And of course, you know, there's you can either be nihilistic about it or you can just have a good time or you can try and see something deeper in all this activity. But I think kind of putting aside that like personal kind of lens on things, I think it is this whole kind of last few months of meme coin trading has been a fascinating kind of test of throughput and scalability in general. And of course, you know, at times Solana itself has seen some challenges with that. And I think it's sort of a really interesting way to continue to battle test these systems and drive improvements in terms of infrastructure as well. So that's something that we're excited about. You know, of course, we're happy to see whatever develops organically on Eclipse in terms of the retail users and community. So that's something we're excited to see where it goes. But those are my thoughts from kind of a philosophical perspective. Yeah.
Got it, thanks. Stas, I'm looking at you and I don't see the satisfactory smile when I say meme coins, because these guys did a crazy project recently, quite an experiment, Dodo, and we would like to hear more about it. Share, please.
Yeah, I've been like talking to, we have like a lot of meetings now and everybody start asking about not stuff we built in the last four years, but the stuff we did in the last 2 months, you know, like, so I have a bit of meme coin fatigue, so to say. So yeah, so we basically kind of got to ride it ourselves. We launched the new meme, which became very popular, became the top meme coin on Aptos, and we also brought it to Solana as well. We did kind of a Twitter sell, you know, like just to test the concept. We got like $3 million thrown it our way overnight, so we just put it all into liquidity. And actually it was like a very good test of Solana. Solana didn't work for us, but you know, he knows it better. So we think that a lot of people kind of discount meme coins, and I think it's a mistake. And this actually what I'm saying, all the VCs and all the exchange and everything we're talking to, because, you know, we found out it's a very, it's actually the path of retail, or not retail, you know, the regular people, which is more correct term, of getting into Web3 at the moment. I mean, if it was NFTs back in time, but NFTs, unfortunately, they had one big issue. Nobody is going to buy an ape, you know, no public is going to buy an ape, which costs even now like 10, you know, like Ethereum, or, you know, the punk, which costs like 30, or I don't remember, like 40 Ethereum as it costs now, because it's just too expensive. But everybody will buy a meme which costs you like $5, $10, etc. Because people, you know, will just throw in, I mean, like in this money, like $5, $10, and think, okay, maybe it's like a lottery ticket. So maybe I can make from this $5, $10, $50 like $1 million, like who knows? I mean, the example has been over there. So we found that actually people, regular people, again, not us, but you know, the mainstream, respond much better to meme coins. I mean, they're not interested to hear about all the latest technologies. They don't interested to hear about, you know, like how it works. And to be honest, a lot of them also have this, you know, this fear that, you know, like that they're going to get dumped on, you know, like by unlocks of VCs, etc. You know, like, and it's a fear, you know, like you know, you can see all the graph of the coins and everything. So we definitely believe that this season, this market, we will see much more meme coins coming on. So like I can give you an example of us. I mean, like we did, I mean, you've seen this. We did recently a partnership with Chingari. You might know them. You know, like it's they're like the Web3 TikTok of India, and it managed. We did a video with them. You know, like literally, you know, like in you know, like Bollywood style, people dancing, singing about Dodo, etc. And it managed to get like 20 million views like in a week, with a lot of Instagram followings and everybody. And people actually came and started, you know, buy Dodo more as a result. So we literally see people having fun with it, like we see that the biggest ingress of our users for our other products, like the DEX in the wallet came from Dodo, like the biggest one from since we started. We see a very active community, lots of noise. So we believe it's an amazing effect. We believe that any, let's call it like this, layer 2 building it themselves should really consider either launching one of them on or encouraging somebody to do this, because we really see this is like the way to attract people attention into it, because again, it's so simple, it's just riding some funny idea, like I mean, look at Whiff, which basically, like dog with head, like nothing more simple than that, the head stays on, like, so people are just buying it, it's very simple to understand concept, even if the price goes down, people say, is the head still on? Ah, yes, okay, I will buy more, like so, but it's as simple as that, and it's very easy to understand, very fun to do. So we believe it will continue. We might be wrong, obviously, but we think it will not fade away. It will be during this trend exactly as the NFTs were the previous trend, because again, it's so cheap, so easy to get one. No need to get fractionalized, no nothing. And we believe every project should consider be part, like either launch one or get into one. And even if it doesn't succeed, it will be an amazing experience. For us, it was a very good experience. It was a great learning lessons. It gave us, the lessons how to launch our more serious tokens, for our other projects. So it literally, was just worse for it. Even not speaking, and I don't like saying this, but not mentioning the fact that it like X200, like price-wise, because it started from a penny, went all the way to $2, and now hovers about like 90 cents to $2, so it still made like 90 to 100x. So, we have happy holders, happy people, happy community. It's a good feeling, and it's a good PR for us.
Thank you. Ansgar? Meme coins? I know you didn't anticipate it.
I don't think I have that much to add. I think as you were saying, right, like any type of usage is often just good to basically have the infrastructure stress tested, kind of keep pushing the need for innovating on the technical side. I'm personally not super excited about meme coins, but of course, I don't know, community activity is a good thing, I guess. And yes, and like we for better or worse, like blockchains, we're getting closer to actually like having a mature tech stack where you can actually build end user products that don't require people to actually be excited about blockchains, but they just have an application that under the hood just works, and they don't even need to know that it's blockchain, right? But we're still not quite there, and so we're still in this phase of basically just experimental applications, and lighthearted fun is just a really good kind of intermediary thing you can do with a not quite mature enough technology. So,
Agreed.
it's a good thing.
It sounds like really, exciting experimentation, and it seems like, if I understood right, it's even driving some adoption among people who were not yet involved in India, yeah?
Yeah, exactly like NFT in previous cycle. We see exactly the same terms. If you remember NFT, back then there have been two cohorts of people. Even they did analysis on Twitter. They've been like, the crypto oriented, and then been like the general public, like which had totally different, their own KOLs, their own influencers, like their own leaders, their own followers, their community. And then it kind of faded. Now we see a bit of ordinals play, but it's still not in the same force. And now with memes, we see the same thing. We see like literally people, like who haven't been interested in crypto, jumping on board, starting doing this, starting buying. And we don't see it fading. We don't see it disappearing. For example, again, Solana was the play for meme coins. Now we see people coming over to Base. Last night or 2 nights, actually, we started to see now memes appearing on top of Bitcoin after the box. So, we see this activity is out there. So, and people like it, and people do this. So, I would totally not fade it as per the words, of the meme coin traders.
You enable it, yep, we got it.
Fade is like ignore.
No, that's what I mean. You choose to enable it. I understood.
Maybe
Yes.
just to
Go ahead.
very briefly mention, I will say that I think, especially as we're talking about onboarding new users and bringing people in that maybe that's their first exposure to crypto, I do think that we have to at least be a little careful and make sure we understand that we have a responsibility, right? And so if basically the first exposure and the only exposure that people have to blockchain is something that at least looks very, very much like gambling, right? And that is a double-edged sword. And so I do think that I personally don't mind if people that have been in crypto for a while understand what they're doing. If basically like some lighthearted meme coin gambling is what they want to do, that's fine with me. I think if basically the hope of just magically making money is what kind of brings people in, and then that ends up not panning out. I think that can also backfire. So I think we have some responsibility there to make sure that, that's not going the wrong way.
100%. I personally see the combination of, there is a gambling, we all understand that, and the audience as well. I think it picked up very much in Asia because it's appealing to the Asian culture because they like the memes and all these funny characters. I think that's what really happened. The Asian adoption is because they like all these cute characters and they don't fully understand. All right, so the last round, if I may. I don't see organizers. No one is telling me if I have some time. I'll do one short one. Could you guys share at this point, the challenges that you're facing and the objectives that you have right now? What are you focusing on? Would you like to start, Vijay? Challenges and objectives.
Yeah, so I think for us right now, we're spending a lot of time on the ZK fraud-proof architecture I mentioned earlier to really ensure that we can achieve that safety component of what I was talking about well. But right now, we're currently on testnet and seeing good traction among developers. And then in terms of objectives, I think we're spending a lot of time telling our story, which is unique in the broader landscape, and sort of educating developers and users on why we're making the choices that we're making. And then from a developer adoption perspective, we're spending a lot of time with DeFi developers, particularly those building central limit order books or RFQ systems, which are two primitives that, in many ways have come back from traditional finance, but right now, in a lot of the Ethereum landscape, the leading teams building those have effectively moved a lot of the flow and compute off-chain, and you lose some of the benefits of transparency and composability that you had if it was all on-chain. So that's, those in particular are high-performance use cases that we're spending time with developers on because we think Eclipse can uniquely serve their needs. And then also spending time with gaming and consumer app developers as well.
Thanks. Stas, same for you?
Yeah, for us, I guess it's the adoption. I would say it's less technology. It's more like, getting the word out because, again, we are move maxis, as we call ourselves, but a lot of people there, not even know what this exists. So, Sui and Aptos has been doing a great job pushing this, the word out, but again, they're L1s, so obviously, the adoption is limited. This is why we actually decided to do Lumio and bring it over, to Ethereum. And we found the best way just to do a lot of education. For example, recently I partnered with Alibaba Cloud, and we are translating a lot of our content into Chinese, Mandarin, because Alibaba Cloud has over 100,000 developers, and we including a lot of Rust developers, and we're basically bringing them, all our know-how that we accumulated during the last 4 years, how to get quickly on move, so to say, and move. And we're trying to bring more people from there. Same for India, we are doing inroads there. But yeah, because everybody knows what is EVM, and again, but not a lot of people, not a lot of those move EVM. And we exactly need, to explain them why they should extend their toolbox and try out, this new technology, this new language, and why they should do this. The other side is been working a lot on with institutions and governments in a nutshell, and educating them as well, because they are looking for alternatives. While they want to embrace free, they kind of concerned after seeing all the hacks, all the bugs, losing projects losing millions and tens of millions overnight. So we kind of trying to position Move as a potential again. Very important to clarify, we are not competing with EVM, we are supplementing it. So we've been this the nature of our technology, this hybrid approach, holistic, maybe even will be better to term it. So we kind of try to explain why they should consider planning using Move in their roadmap together with EVM and Solidity, and maybe writing the sensitive parts of their business logic and that. And this also slowly moves forward. But yeah, I guess education is the best, the best tool and the main challenge that we have those days, because everybody heard about Solana, surprisingly, or not surprisingly, but a lot of people still don't know what Aptos and Sui is. And it will take some time until we get it there and be able to put it on the table.
Thank you. So we have presented to you, I would say, one side of the future of scalability, which is cross-chain. Of course, there are many different initiatives and options that are covered in different panels of this conference. Thank you all so much for joining. Thank you, Ansgar, for coming and challenging us a little bit. We needed that. Thanks, Vijay and Stas. Thank you, audience. Any questions that we should take, or we can wrap it up? Thank you. Okay, I see timing. Thank you, guys. Thank you.